Hey, welcome back. Step 4 in becoming the best version of yourself. This is where it gets fun. We've already learned that we need to take responsibility for our life. We've already learned that we need to cultivate self awareness. We've already learned that we need to forgive ourselves and others. And now I call those three are basically the foundation. Okay. Self awareness, cultivating self awareness, taking responsibility, and forgiveness. I like to call those our foundation. Next is where we start building the best version of yourself. To do that, you have to decide who you want to be. This is the fun part. You get to decide who you want to be. Who you want to be, what do you want to do, what do you want to have? You get to decide all of that. Because if you don't decide who you want to be, life is going to decide for you. And if you're not happy currently, that means life has already been deciding for you. So now it's time for you to choose for yourself who you want to be. And the beautiful thing, you can be exactly who you want to be. You can have exactly what you want to have. You can experience exactly what you want to experience. You see, most people just drift through life on autopilot. They let their habits or their circumstances or even other people decide who they're going to be. But the truth is, you're in control. You get to decide who you are. You get to decide how you show up. And you get to decide what kind of life you want to create. If you don't get clear on who you want to be, then you're just going to keep waking up as the same version of yourself in a life that you're not happy with. The version that procrastinates, makes excuses, or settles for less than what you're capable of. Because when you decide who you want to be, you stop living reactively and start living intentional. You create a vision of yourself that you're becoming, and every action, thought, and emotion lines up with that person that you're becoming. The version of you living your dream life, it's not just like a fantasy, it's a blueprint. You just have to build it one decision at a time. So now we need to decide who we want to be. And this is how I did it. Okay. Get yourself a notebook and a pen. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be? Write it down. I want to be loving, kind, patient. I want to be a giver. I want to be, philanthropic. I want to be a great father, a great husband. Then decide, how do I treat other people? What's the response when I walk into a room? You can literally create yourself from the ground up with all of these things. Who do you want to be when you're around your friends? Who do you want to be when you're around your family? Who do you want to be when you're around your wife or your children? What do you want to have? What vacations do you want to go to? I'm talking about everything. Like, what do you want to have? Do you want to have a 7,000 square foot house? Write it down. Do you want to have a cabin in the woods? Write it down. Your dream person, write it down. If you woke up tomorrow and you're living your dream life, what are you doing? What are you doing to make money? What is your career? What are you driving? Where do you live? How many kids do you have? What do you look like? Do you work out every day? Do you wake up early? Do you read books every day? Decide who you want to be. Decide who the ideal version of yourself is and write it down. Nothing is too crazy. I have a list of like 300 things that I've written down. I've done this exercise multiple times over the course of my life. Sometimes I add stuff. Sometimes I subtract stuff. I've met a lot of the things that I've written down. I've become the person that I've written down over the course of years. But this is where you can truly decide who you want to be. How do you feel when you wake up? Are you disciplined? But also want you to give some thought into who you are right now. Are you undisciplined? Do you procrastinate? Do you make excuses? Is it always someone else's fault? Just give some thought into who you're being right now. That's the contrast of who you want to be. So that way you can know, like, this isn't who I want to be anymore. So once you write down the ideal version of yourself, everything you want to do, everything you want to be, everything that you want to have, personality traits. Once you've written all that down, close your eyes and imagine how you would feel if you were that person. Okay? How would that person feel? I bet that person would feel free. They would feel joyful. They would feel happy, grateful, in love with life. That's how the future version of you would feel, the dream life version of you would feel. Feel that now. You can create feelings of joy and freedom and all of these feelings and emotions you can create now. So when you write these things down, close your eyes and imagine it as true and feel the emotion. Put yourself in the picture of what you've written down. If you wrote down that you want to live in a 7,000 square foot house, close your eyes and walk through the house. Feel the emotion of walking through the house. Smell the smells of walking through that house. Make it as real as possible until you have your eyes closed and you're literally walking through the house with a smile on your face because it feels so real. Okay. It's not just enough to write down the person we want to be. It's not just enough to write it down. You have to feel the emotions of that person. You have to become that person internally before you'll ever see anything externally. The purpose of this is deciding who you want to be. Because then after you decide who you want to be, you're going to have to live the life as if you already were that person. And that's when it gets fun. That's when you can cultivate joy when nothing around you is going right. Everything seems to be the furthest from that dream life that you've ever been, but you're still able to cultivate joy and be happy, despite the fact that nothing around you has changed. That's one of the beautiful things that I discovered is whenever I've gone through different valley seasons in my life, I always understood, A, it's not going to last long, but B, I still walked around as though everything were perfect. My internal joy, happiness, a sense of freedom, I always had that within me. So I'm always walking around as that person, despite the fact that if you look around my life, everything seems to be falling apart. But internally, I'm living as if everything is perfect through the law of attraction and vibration. I'm putting out the energy of being wealthy. I'm putting out the energy of being free. I'm putting out the energy of effortlessness. And what do you know? That's what starts showing up in life. I start getting opportunities to do things that I love. All these beautiful things start coming to me because I was able to cultivate those feelings when nothing around me looked like the way I wanted it to look. I had a transmission that went out. My wife got laid off. I got laid off, but we both decided everything's going to be fine. Don't get stuck in how much sucks right now. Continue living as if everything is perfect. And before long, everything's going to be great. If you wrote down, if your future self is disciplined, then today, do what it takes to be disciplined. If your future self is a reader, find a book, start reading today. If your future self drinks a gallon of water every day, go get you a gallon of water and start drinking it. If your future self is calm and patient, go find you some situations that's going to test that. Every time that you make a choice that aligns with the future version of yourself, you're becoming the future version of yourself. When you get clear on who you want to be, everything changes. Your habits change, your mindset changes, the people and opportunities around you change because you're no longer living in default. Now you're living by design. You don't have to have it all figured out today, but you do need to start today. Who you are today, it doesn't have to be who you are forever. Decide who you want to be and start showing up as that person. So I want you to take 5 or 10 minutes, get that pen and that paper and write down who you want to be. There's different aspects of life that you can write from. You can write, who do you want to be? How do you want your mindset? Do you read? Do you meditate? Are you patient? Who do you want to show up as a father? What do you want to do? As a husband, who do you want to be? Do you want to own your own business? What does that look like? Literally, there are no limits on what you can become. So you should not put any limits on what you're writing down. You should write down what you feel is the best version of yourself. Now, I've been doing this exercise for probably over a decade, where I just write down things that I want. Over the years, they've gotten bigger and bigger, and they just continue showing up. I'll write things down, and not everything, but different seasons, I want different things, much like you will. But I pretty much at least once or twice a year, I'll go through a list and write down things that I want. People, the person that I want to be, how I want to show up for my family, how I want to show up for my friends, the materialistic things that I want, the giving aspect, like what I want to give, how much I want to give back. And throughout my life of doing this, a lot of the things that I've written down have shown up because I just believed in it and I wrote it down and I read it every single day. And that's the other thing. You need to read it every single day. Feel the emotions of having these things every single day. Feel the emotion of living in the house. Feel the emotion of driving the new car. Smell the smell of the new car. You can absolutely be, do, and have everything you want. This life is limitless. Just write it down. Decide who you want to be, and you can become that person. We're going to go through the rest of the steps. It's going to help you to become the best version of yourself. And then the stuff that you've written down, it's going to seem like it's just drawn to you because you're not looking for it. You're living in a state of wholeness. You're living in a state of freedom. You're living in a state of love and a state of joy more often than not. There's still going to be instances where our human nature is to react, and that's okay. But the more that we practice these things that we're going to go over, those instances of reaction will get shorter and shorter and shorter. Okay? So, write everything down. Make it a great day, and I'll see you on the next video.